Hi everyone and welcome to Stopham. My name is Adderley and this is my Vineyard and Winery Journal of 2025. And today I'm going to talk about pruning. Why and how we prune. So first off, why we prune is to eliminate all unnecessary shoots that are not fruit bearing. The only shoots that are fruit bearing are the shoots that grow on wood that is 1 year old. And I will show that to you in how we prune. Also, it's to maximize nutrient flow to the fruit bearing shoots, and also really if you were to leave all your shoots growing, all your shoots on the vine, just imagine all those buds that are on the shoots are going to grow more shoots. So this is going to create a very dense canopy, which is going to reduce airflow and reduce sunlight, which these are the two main things to have a good and healthy canopy throughout the season. Okay, so let's talk about why we prune. Nope, already mentioned that bit. Let's talk about how we prune. Okay, so Matt, here we go. So right now, first off, well, what you do is you have a good look at the vine and you find your spurs. So this vine has a spur here and this vine has a spur here, which is a little bit hidden, but you'll get the idea. Now, when you look at the spur, it is growing on, so this spur is 1 year old and this spur is 2 years old. Okay, so this is last year's pruning. It can get a little complicating, and this is last year's shoot. Okay, so when it comes to pruning, I'm gonna first follow the flow of the vine, right? Because if I were to cut the vine in half, inside it would actually be dead in the middle. So ideally you don't usually get a lot of growth on the crown because that's a lot of dead wood, and you're going to follow to maximize the growth of your vine by following the nutrient flow. So there's going to be a lot of flow talk in this video. So now I've gone right, I've followed the flow. What's the first thing I'm going to touch is this. So actually, what's wrong?
It's in the way.
So actually I'm going to switch on my secateurs and check they work. Here I've got electrical secateurs. I won't ever go back to manual. Electric is the best. If we're going to talk, we'll just do a little talk of health and safety. Make sure you've got your gloves. They've got wire meshing into it, which actually stops the flow, the induction, electrical induction, okay? Or is it electrical? Who cares? Clearly these gloves, right, so check your gloves work. Since we've been pruning since November and we pull out at the same time, they might actually start to wear down, but the majority of the times your fingers are mostly protected. And also you've got your safety glasses, but right now for the purpose of the video probably won't bother. Right, so like I explained before, follow the flow. First shoot you touch is going to be your spur. And then also you're going to think, look how the spur is designed. All right, you've got a shoot growing underneath and a shoot growing on top from the previous buds. So I'm going to do the same with this. I've got a bud underneath and a bud growing on top. So I'm going to prune just above the last bud that is growing on top, because I want to create another spur and another cane for the end of this year when we prune, and that's going to create some kind of wave, and that's going to be a continuous flow of nutrients. Okay, so right, there we go. Now it's not ideal because this isn't very healthy on top of here. This is dead, not great for a cane, so I'm going to get rid of that. If that's the case, you can, and you have to get rid of that. You can always go to last year's cane if you had one, which I will show on the other side of this vine, but we don't. We've got one that was probably damaged and cut off. This one is growing on top. So I'm just going to cut that there, keep that as a cane, and then get rid of these little tendrils, and then cut the vine long enough so you can tie it down. Right, let's look on the other side. Okay, so here we go. We've got another spur growing here. We do have some wood growing down here. There's so if you've got your spur and you've got some shoots growing underneath, unless they're ideal shoots, meaning they're in the good position, they're pointing in the right direction, they've got the good thickness, you could make this into a new spur if you wanted, because actually this is quite nice. This is actually getting a bit too high for me. This one's pointing on the side, so I don't want it. But anything growing underneath the wood that you are keeping, you need to leave a little bit of length so it allows dieback and doesn't interfere with the flow. If you have anything growing on top, you can cleanly cut that bit of wood flat, so you could give it a really good shave. That won't interfere because it's on top. So underneath, this is my spur that I'm going to keep. This is slightly underneath, but it's pointing sideways and it's a bit weak. So I'm not going to give it a complete cut. I'm there. You can rub the buds off if you want to get away with that as well. Because when everything starts growing, you're going to want to make sure, if this is your spur and it comes to crown thinning later on in the season, you want to make sure that your this is the new growth you have. Anything else you rub off like that. So this is the lowest growth I have on my vine. Right, so that's my spur. This is a bit chunky old stuff. Okay, so then I'm thinking, right, I'm gonna have a cane. So I can have a cane from this spur. You could have a cane from here, but since this isn't growing so well, this is quite far away from the vine. I want to have maximum length so I can tie it down without interference. I'm just going to get a cane from this spur, because remember, fruit only grows on wood that is 1 year old. This cane is 1 year old and this spur is 1 year old. So these are your two choices if you want to have a fruit bearing cane. Now I'm going to look at my shoots. This one, which is underneath, it's nice, but seems to stop on top and is not as long as I want it to be. So I'm going to go for the second best, and I'm going to get rid of this one because it's underneath. I'm going to give it a little bit of length to allow dieback, and I can get rid of this cane, last year's cane, because I've got this one's, which is here. Obviously I've got my spur. Remember, I'm going to have a bud underneath and a bud on top, so I'm going to cut just beyond that to allow dieback as well. But also next year this year I'm going to have a shoot growing here and on top, and then when it comes to pruning, I can then again have a spur growing there and then a cane from up there. And I'm going to get rid of these little tendrils because they do have the tendency to carry on disease, and also they get in the way when it comes to tying down. So let's have a good look at what we've done. We pull out at the same time because it's getting two jobs done at once, and also it allows you to actually not miss anything, because you get to see the vine as it is. So like this. Right, there we go.